You have learned to strip appearances, track motives, and map invisible systems. Now the work becomes active. Turn that vision into force. Seeing alone grants safety. Applying that sight grants dominion. This part teaches how to weaponize perception, how to wage psychological warfare, build invisible leverage, shape narratives, and use timing so precise it feels prophetic. Machiavelli's lesson was always practical. Knowledge is power only when used. Here is how to use it. The 18th lesson: use psychological pressure, not force. True strategy prefers pressure to blunt force. Pressure reshapes the battlefield by changing choices available to others. It constrains, nudges, and channels behavior without overt violence. When people feel boxed by circumstance, they reveal themselves under pressure. Masks slip. Use calibrated pressure, deadlines, public expectations, scarcity of options, to force opponents into predictable moves. Examples of pressure you can apply quietly. Make a public claim that commits others to a response. Social proof compels action. Introduce a time constraint that limits deliberation. Rushed choices are predictable choices. Subtly shift resources so an ally must lean on you, increasing dependency. The goal is never to crush in a way that breeds unpredictable rage. It's to narrow options so that the choices left all favor you. Pressure is the invisible cage that makes people dance to your rhythm. The 19th lesson: build and hide leverage. Leverage is the currency of dominance, but visible leverage becomes a target. Your art is to build it where others cannot see it, and to reveal only what helps your aims. Leverage comes in many forms: secrets, financial dependencies, emotional bonds, reputational assets, or control of crucial information. Gather assets quietly, test their strength. Never flaunt them until they guarantee the outcome. 3 rules for leverage. Diversify, don't rely on one dependency. Multiple small levers are harder to remove. Make removal costly. Ensure that breaking the bond causes more pain than staying. Keep plausible deniability. Let others think they are free. Bind them with invisible obligations. When the moment comes, pull the smallest lever that achieves the largest effect. The efficient strike wastes no resources and leaves no trace. The 20th lesson: construct narratives, not lies, frameworks. People live by stories. Facts matter less than the meaning attached to them. If you control the narrative, you control behavior. This isn't dishonest unless you choose to make it so. It is strategic framing. Frame events so they fit a story that benefits you, the underdog who deserves help, the steady hand amid chaos, the indispensable ally. Narratives have 3 parts: protagonist, threat, and moral. Place yourself where sympathy, authority, or necessity aligns with your interests. To shape narratives, seed small truths repeatedly until repetition becomes reality. Use symbolism. A single gesture or phrase can carry a narrative more powerfully than paragraphs of explanation. Control timing. Release information when it best supports the story arc. A well-constructed narrative changes how people interpret every subsequent action. They stop seeing events. They see the story and they act accordingly. The 21st lesson: signal strength without showing all your cards. Signals are the language of power. You want to communicate capability and resolve without revealing the full extent of resources. Calibrate signals so they suggest more than they disclose. Effective signals: confident silence, deliberate delays, a single visible ally. Measured generosity. Each indicates capacity without giving opponents the full ledger. Never signal desperation. Desperation reveals limits and invites exploitation. Instead, show that you can afford to wait. The patient player forces others to move first, often to their detriment. Remember, the best bluff is backed by real capacity. If you repeatedly signal strength without the means to back it up, the moment of reckoning will destroy your credibility. Build quietly, signal surgically, and always keep a reserve. The 22nd lesson: turn information into currency. Information is not neutral. It buys alliances, breaks reputations, or forces choices. Collect it ethically when possible. When not, know how to exploit what already exists around you. Keep 3 information practices: archive, record patterns, offhand remarks, and inconsistencies. Years of small data points form unbeatable dossiers. Verify. A single false assumption can topple a plan. Cross-check before acting. Trade. Information can be swapped for loyalty, protection, or silence. Use it as a non-violent weapon. When used correctly, a single well-timed fact can pivot an entire coalition. Information gives you options. Options create freedom. Freedom is power. The 23rd lesson: master timing, the science of when. Knowing what to do is one skill. Knowing when to do it is mastery. Fortune often favors the patient strategist. Inaction is not cowardice when it waits for the optimal moment. Timing requires two practices: pattern recognition and restraint. Recognize cycles of emotion, of economy, of attention. The same action at a different hour produces a different result. Act too early and the world is not ready. Act too late and opportunity is lost. The dark seer watches the clock of human appetite and strikes only when the clock's hands push others to predictable behavior. The 24th lesson: create controlled crises. Real leaders shape events, they don't only react. A controlled crisis is a manufactured moment that concentrates attention and simplifies choice. It forces people to pick sides, to reveal loyalties, and to accept decisive leadership. Controlled crises must be small enough to contain and big enough to change the social geometry. Use them to consolidate authority, remove weak allies without public conflict, reveal hidden opponents. Do this sparingly. Overuse of crisis makes your name synonymous with instability. Use crisis as a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. The 25th lesson: recruit and test loyalty. All power stands on a base of loyal people, but loyalty is rarely absolute. It must be built and tested. Loyalty responds to self-interest, identity, and fear in that order. How to cultivate loyalty: reward publicly, punish privately. Public rewards set standards. Private punishments keep dissent silent. Give status, people defend what they have been given. Test with small moral compromises before entrusting large power. The way someone yields small pressures predicts how they will behave under real strain. Never assume loyalty from sentiment alone. Test, observe, and hedge. Convert affection into stake and stake into obligation. The 26th lesson: use ritual, symbol, and repetition. Human beings are symbolic animals. Rituals and repeated signals create stability and obedience. You can use routine to normalize your authority. Institutions survive when people internalize the ritual. Create small ceremonies, consistent meetings, coded praise, public acknowledgments that anchor your influence as normal, inevitable, and beneficial. Symbols condense complex meanings into immediate responses. A look, a title, a lapel pin, these become shorthand for hierarchy and expectation. Employ them deliberately. The 27th lesson: convert vision to invisible influence. When your perception is refined and your tools are set, convert them into influence that others can't fully see. Invisible influence is the subtle steering of decisions through design, not force. Design choices. Rearrange options so the best choice is the one you prefer. Seed a conversation with favored terms. Privately align key players so the public vote feels organic. Influence that looks organic is the most durable. People obey what they convince themselves to do. Your job is to design the architecture of consent. The 28th lesson: prepare exit paths and fail-safes. Every plan can fail. The wise prepare graceful exits for themselves and contingencies for their networks. Visibility without escape is vulnerability. Build escape routes, plausible excuses, financial buffers, and reputational insurance. Plant allies in places that can act as lifelines if collapse begins. A prepared strategist can turn retreat into repositioning and loss into leverage for the next move. The 29th lesson: keep the moral mirror, use vision responsibly. Power corrupts when sight is used solely for advantage, but sight used for strategy can also be used to protect, to stabilize, and to prevent catastrophe. Machiavelli did not celebrate cruelty. He prized effectiveness and the preservation of order. Ask occasionally, does this application of sight preserve something of value? Are you dismantling a dangerous system or feeding your ego? Use your vision with purpose. Influence is a tool. Decide what it will build. The 30th lesson: practice the laboratory of life. None of these techniques survive theory alone. You must practice intentionally. Treat every interaction as lab work. Hypothesize. Experiment, observe, adjust. Keep notes. Reflect, fail small so your big moves work. Exercises. For 1 week, silently observe a group and record the unspoken hierarchy. Test one small signal to see if hierarchy shifts. Keep a journal of promises people make versus what they deliver. Spot patterns. Practice framing a small story about yourself to see how perception changes in response. Skill is forged in repetition. The more you practice, the more acute your sight becomes. Closing reflection for part 3. You have moved from seeing to acting, from perception to mastery. The dark power of sight is at its most dangerous when it's coupled with discipline, restraint, and strategy. Use it to bend events subtly, to craft consent, to build durable leverage and to create contingencies. Machiavelli taught that wisdom is not glamorous. It is relentless. The ruler who sees and does not act wastes an advantage. The ruler who acts recklessly burns it. Between those extremes lies the path of mastery, where vision becomes influence, and influence becomes legacy. Influence that looks organic is the most durable. People obey what they convince themselves to do. Your job is to design the architecture of consent. The 28th lesson: prepare exit paths and fail-safes. Every plan can fail. The wise prepare graceful exits for themselves and contingencies for their networks. Visibility without escape is vulnerability. Build escape routes, plausible excuses, financial buffers, and reputational insurance. Plant allies in places that can act as lifelines if collapse begins. A prepared strategist can turn retreat into repositioning and loss into leverage for the next move. The 29th lesson: keep the moral mirror, use vision responsibly. Power corrupts when sight is used solely for advantage, but sight used for strategy can also be used to protect, to stabilize, and to prevent catastrophe. Machiavelli did not celebrate cruelty. He prized effectiveness and the preservation of order. Ask occasionally, does this application of sight preserve something of value? Are you dismantling a dangerous system or feeding your ego? Use your vision with purpose. Influence is a tool. Decide what it will build. The 30th lesson: practice the laboratory of life. None of these techniques survive theory alone. You must practice intentionally. Treat every interaction as lab work. Hypothesize. Experiment, observe, adjust, keep notes. Reflect, fail small so your big moves work. Exercises. For 1 week, silently observe a group and record the unspoken hierarchy. Test one small signal to see if hierarchy shifts. Keep a journal of promises people make versus what they deliver. Spot patterns. Practice framing a small story about yourself to see how perception changes in response. Skill is forged in repetition. The more you practice, the more acute your sight becomes. Closing reflection for part 3. You have moved from seeing to acting, from perception to mastery. The dark power of sight is at its most dangerous when it's coupled with discipline, restraint, and strategy. Use it to bend events subtly, to craft consent, to build durable leverage, and to create contingencies. Machiavelli taught that wisdom is not glamorous. It is relentless. The ruler who sees and does not act wastes an advantage. The ruler who acts recklessly burns it. Between those extremes lies the path of mastery, where vision becomes influence, and influence becomes legacy. By now, you've crossed the threshold most people never approach. You have learned to peel illusion from reality, to decode motives, and to convert perception into action. What remains is integration, turning perception into identity, so that seeing deeply is not something you do, but something you are. Machiavelli would tell you that at this stage, sight becomes self-sustaining. You no longer struggle to interpret the world. You read it the way a musician reads notes, instinctively, fluently, without hesitation. This final part focuses on advanced tactics, psychological steadiness, and the personal transformation that comes when dark sight becomes second nature. The 31st lesson: the mirror of opposites. To see completely, you must study both extremes, the pure and the corrupt, the powerful and the powerless, the loyal and the treacherous. Contradictions reveal the full map of human nature. Observe not only success but failure, not only cunning rulers but broken ones. Each opposite clarifies its twin. A general who studies defeat understands victory better than one who has only triumphed. Machiavelli urged princes to read history for this reason. He knew that truth hides in contrast. The crowd sees events, the strategist sees patterns of contrast. When you encounter conflict, disappointment, or betrayal, don't recoil, document. Each opposite teaches you what was hidden in the familiar. The 32nd lesson: the paradox of transparency. Once you can see motives clearly, you will realize another paradox. The more you understand others, the less you can reveal of yourself. Transparency is praised publicly but punished privately. The world claims to value honesty, yet rewards those who control information. The wise appear transparent but reveal nothing critical. They speak openly about small matters to conceal large ones. They share feelings that disarm suspicion while protecting intentions that matter. To live with dark sight, you must master the art of apparent openness. Show enough of yourself that others stop searching. Hide enough that you remain unpredictable. This is not deception, it is self-preservation. Transparency without boundaries is exposure, and exposure is vulnerability. The 33rd lesson: the discipline of stillness. Seeing deeply requires stillness. internal silence in a world addicted to noise. Machiavelli worked in chaos, exiles, wars, shifting loyalties, yet he wrote with surgical calm. That calm came from detachment, the ability to pause when others panic. Stillness is your amplifier. It allows details to surface, motives to reveal themselves, and chaos to slow down. Practice it in conversation. Let silence expand until others fill it. Practice it in crisis. Breathe until emotion passes and only clarity remains. Stillness makes you appear unshakable, which is its own form of power. People project strength onto the calm. In time, they give you authority simply because you do not mirror their confusion. The 34th lesson, the geometry of conflict. Every conflict, no matter how emotional it seems, follows a structure, positions, resources, perceptions, timing. When you see conflict geometrically, you can solve it strategically instead of emotionally. Map every dispute. What does each side believe they want? What resources do they control? Who are the hidden influencers behind them? What outcome will make them feel victorious even if it benefits you more? Offer that illusion of victory. Most wars end not when one side wins, but when both sides believe they have. Machiavelli would call this victory by perception. The battlefield ends where perspective shifts. The 35th lesson, power through stability. As your sight deepens, chaos will seem tempting. You will see how easy it is to create conflict, how fragile alliances truly are. Resist that temptation. The purpose of sight is not destruction. It is stability through understanding. Power built on chaos collapses under its own weight. Power built on clarity endures. Be the unmoving center in a spinning world. People will orbit around you because you are predictable in your calm, reliable in your restraint. The world trusts stability even when it fears it. Machiavelli admired rulers who could be both feared and relied upon. Stability, not cruelty, is the highest expression of mastery. The 36th lesson, the invisible network. Behind every throne stands an unseen network. Advisors, financiers, informants, and quiet supporters. You must learn to build and maintain your own. A visible ally can be attacked. An invisible ally is untouchable. Develop relationships quietly with people who benefit from your stability, but do not need to display loyalty publicly. Your network is not friendship. It is architecture. It keeps power balanced and information flowing. Feed it selectively, enough truth to keep it functional, enough mystery to keep it dependent. The unseen network is your insurance. Even if you are removed from the board, the web you built continues to move at your command. The 37th lesson, the ethics of vision. The ability to see into motives can corrode empathy if left unchecked. Use your sight ethically, not as a tool of domination alone, but as a way to prevent waste, conflict, and needless suffering. Machiavelli's reputation for cruelty came from readers who missed his moral paradox. He valued the greater good of order over the chaos of moral indecision. Apply that logic carefully. Use vision to minimize harm by predicting it early. Intervene quietly when disaster can still be averted. Influence outcomes toward balance, not just control. When perception becomes compassion guided by discipline, it transforms from dark power into enlightened leadership. The 38th lesson, the shadow and the self. To wield dark side effectively, you must reconcile with your own shadow, the parts of yourself you dislike or deny. If you refuse to see your own envy, fear, or ambition, others will manipulate you through them. To see clearly outside, you must illuminate the inside. Journaling, solitude, honest self-assessment, these are tools, not indulgences. The stronger your internal awareness, the less leverage the world has over you. Machiavelli understood that a prince who cannot govern himself cannot govern others. Self-mastery completes the circle of perception. You cannot command what you cannot face. The 39th lesson, the disappearance technique. At the highest level, the seer learns to disappear, to let vision work while remaining invisible. You do not always need to act directly. Instead, plant seeds of perception in others. A question, a suggestion, a subtle example. Let them believe the insight was theirs. Influence multiplied through others is power without exposure. Disappearance also means knowing when to retreat. Withdraw before you are too visible, too predictable, or too feared. A short absence renews mystery. Mystery renews influence. Machiavelli wrote that a wise ruler should act like the fox, recognizing traps. Disappearance is the fox's ultimate move, stepping back into shadow before the trap can be set. The 40th lesson, the doctrine of quiet dominion. All previous lessons converge here. Quiet dominion is the state where vision governs effortlessly. Its principles: observe without judgment, Judgment blinds, curiosity illuminates. Act without announcement. The loud plan invites sabotage. Influence without claim. Let others take credit, you take the result. Detach without indifference. Care strategically, not sentimentally. Endure without vanity. Visibility fades, legacy remains. Quiet dominion is not about control for its own sake. It is about shaping reality through awareness. When you reach this point, you stop chasing power. Power begins to orbit you naturally. The 41st lesson, living among the blind. Once you can see what others can't, daily life becomes strange. Conversations feel transparent. Politics predictable, emotions repetitive. The danger is isolation, the arrogance of believing no one else understands. Avoid that trap. Use your clarity to guide, not to sneer. Share fragments of sight with those ready to see a little more. Influence is sustainable only when it benefits others too. Machiavelli advised rulers to appear merciful, faithful, humane. Do the same. Empathy keeps sight human. Your goal is not to rise above humanity, but to move among it with clearer eyes. The 42nd lesson, legacy, teaching others to see. A true seer leaves no monuments, only minds sharpened by his influence. Teach others the principles of observation, discipline, and restraint. A world of partially awakened minds is safer than one ruled by a single omniscient figure. Pass on knowledge quietly. The student who learns to see carries your legacy further than wealth or fame ever could. As Machiavelli's writings survived centuries, so can your insight, not through your name, but through the minds you awaken. The final vision, the world revealed. Imagine standing at dawn while fog lifts over a battlefield. You see the ridges, the traps, the paths others missed in the darkness. That is what true perception feels like. The world does not change, only your sight does. You see manipulation where others see charm, opportunity where others see failure, calm where others see threat. This clarity is both gift and burden. It demands restraint, humility, and purpose. Machiavelli's genius lay not in cruelty, but in comprehension. He saw the machinery behind civilization and described it without fear. You inherit that lens now. Use it not to dominate blindly, but to shape wisely. The dark power of seeing what others can't is not about living in darkness. It is about mastering it, walking through shadow without losing direction, hearing the whisper beneath noise, and acting with calm precision while others chase illusion. When you can do this naturally, you no longer need to force power. You are power, quiet, aware, and unshakable. Closing reflection. Machiavelli's ultimate message was simple. The world belongs to those who can see it clearly and act accordingly. The rest are moved like pieces in a game they don't understand. Now you know the game. You can read its board, anticipate its moves, and decide when to play or when to reshape it entirely. The journey ends where true vision begins, not in blinding light, but in disciplined darkness, where perception becomes mastery and mastery becomes peace.